Good evening and welcome out everyone to tonight's tackle trading onboarding webinar. This is Coach Frank. I'll be taking you through the tackle trading website here this evening, show you in around a little bit, letting you know what we're doing, when we're doing it, where you can find it, hopefully to help you put better use to tackle trading if you're already a pro member, or if maybe you're just ran into us for the first time or been following us on YouTube for a while and wanted to dive a little bit deeper. Hopefully it can give you an idea of kind of what we're all about on the back end here as well. So let's dive right into it. I'm going to break tackle trading down into three core parts. The things that you can do on your own will be one of them. That's going to be courses, blogs, some of our different tools through our trade center, things that you can do with others. That's going to be our live shows. What are they? When are they? We'll walk through the schedule and talk about, what we're focused on in each of our different programs. And then third, our weekend reports. At the end of each week, we do put together a tackle newsletter as well as stock, options, commodity, and Forex reports. So we'll kind of break it down into those three core areas here this evening as we dive right into it. I guess before we get too crazy, a couple of things just, I would highlight here at Tackle Trading. Number one is the Huddle podcast. This is just a short podcast each day, talking about the top 5 stories of the day, 10-ish minutes. It's quick. It's a great way to kind of follow along through the market without having to do a whole lot of digging on a day-to-day basis. Definitely worth including into that daily routine, in my opinion. And then our friends over at Trading Justice, each week they do the Trading Justice podcast. This week they are talking to the metals man, Pete Thomas. I'm excited to listen to that one. Pete's always a good listen. You can listen to both Trading Justice at podcast and the Huddle podcast on any of your favorite providers. You can also, click the link right here. That'll take you to tradingjustice.com. Right up here, that'll take you to the Huddle podcast. So you can listen to them any way that is comfortable for you each week for the Trading Justice podcast. And there's also a really nice, in my opinion, monthly newsletter over at tradingjustice.com. Is definitely worth reading a little bit each month as well. So that's our friends over at Trading Justice. All right, let's dive right into it. Let's talk about the things that you can do on your own. And to me, at least, the first thing that comes to my mind, and probably the primary thing that would come to my mind, is the courses. We do have several courses available to all of our pro members. Our 7-step guide to trading is kind of an introduction into the tackle way, I guess. There's a lot of us here at Tackle Trading, and no two traders are the same by any stretch, but I think we do kind of share some core belief systems here when it comes to the market at Tackle Trading. We take that top-down approach, working through the market from the index level to the sector to the industry to the stock level, taking that top-down approach, matching our strategies. So this 7-step guide to trading, if you're a new trader, it'll probably be really helpful and kind of get some of this stuff organized. If you're a veteran trader, hopefully you can get a couple of tips in there. You're probably not going to up and change your routine, and probably don't need to do that if you're a veteran trader, but maybe can get some ideas in that 7-step guide to trading as well. We have an introduction to technical analysis. Of course, as traders, charting's our friend, right? That's really where we're making our decisions, when we're getting in, when we're getting out, where we're placing our stop, where we're selling covered calls against our shares, whatever the case might be. And technical analysis is great because whether we're trading 1-minute chart in the futures market, swing trade in stocks, selling some out of the money credit spreads that are expiring next month, no matter what kind of trading we're doing, technical analysis is going to be helpful for us. So obviously, the better we are at that, the better I think everything else is going to be. Technical analysis, of course, will hopefully help you get a better understanding of those charts. Our options course is really going to focus on the option contracts themselves and not dramatically on the different strategies. We have a different place for that I'll be sure to show you. But we're going to talk about, what happens when you buy or sell that call option. What are the factors that are moving that contract? How does time impact it? How does volatility impact it, right? That type of stuff. The better we can understand the option contract itself, probably the easier it's going to be for us to pick up all of these different option strategies, right? So that will really be the focus over in that options course. It's a great place to start if maybe you've been trading a while, but you've always been an equity trader trading stock, and you wanted to branch out into the options world. Can be a great place to start. If you've ever had interest in learning about trading over in the futures or the Forex markets, we do have introduction courses to those as well to help you have a better idea of the leverage that those products use, the difference that we're going to run into with those products versus, say, a traditional stock. In many ways, they're very, very similar. In other ways, they're different, and we need to understand those differences for sure. They can be intimidating markets to a lot of traders, I've found. And, it's okay to trade what we want, right? I don't have to trade Forex. I don't have to trade futures, but I don't want to be intimidated by them. I don't want you to be intimidated by them either. So if you've ever found yourself interested in either of those markets, it can be a great place to start to see if it's something that you actually are interested in. Regardless of what you're trading and what kind of things you like to trade and what kind of time frames you like to trade, we all agree we do need to have clearly defined rules and systems in place to govern our actions. We want to treat our trading like a business, right? Not like a casino. The system development course is really designed to help train you to think about trading from a systematic perspective and building and implementing those trading systems. So no matter who you are and what you like to trade, I would definitely encourage you to take some time to work through the system development course. I think you'll be impressed. I do think it'll be time well spent no matter what else you're doing in the market. We do have a handful of premium systems, as you can kind of see here. What these are is they're kind of one-time purchases. The system is yours for life. We get together once a month with members of that team in a mastermind group. Just so you know what they are, if you want a little more information, you can head over to the store. You can send us an email to team@tackletrading.com. Be happy to get you a little more info. But just very quickly, the Tackle 25 is a list that we put together each year with the idea of specifically selling calls against and generating some cash flow over the course of the year. Our step system is our swing trading system, just standing for stop loss, target, entry, and position size. Cash flow condors is another cash flow system, selling condors on the Russell 2000. And the bear market survival guide is kind of protecting our long-term portfolio from bearish turns in the market and then dealing with bearish market conditions when we get into them. We get together once a month with those teams, as I brought up. If you do want some more information, don't hesitate to reach out. Be more than happy to get you information on any of those premium systems in here if you would like to do so. Not everything has to be a course, right? We do blog content pretty regularly. Each week, you're going to find some good quality blog content to read, whether it's more charting in Tales of the Technician, more on options in the Option Theory blog, kind of taking concepts from the ground up with Coach Greg over in the Rookie Corner, hearing from Coach M and our awesome female traders over in the Women in Trading blog. I mean, these are going to be relatively short reads. I mean, you're probably talking 5-ish minutes, nothing too crazy, but can be other ways to share ideas, bounce things around with members of the team. So definitely worth incorporating into the daily routine in my mind. Over in the Trade Center, let's just go directly into the Trade Center, and then we'll kind of talk a few other things. If you go directly into the Trade Center, this is kind of a what's up at Tackle Trading page. What's our next show, our most recent post, latest report, last tweet, little personal watch list. If you want to have a built-in watch list, you would just add your stock here and then hit the little plus button, or minus if you're trying to get rid of it. There will be a short upcoming calendar, kind of what's on the schedule in the very near future. Either a live or a replay of one of our YouTube shows. Typically, it'll be the halftime report, but sometimes it will be the Monday onboarding webinar or the Wednesday Trade Masters webinar. Where you are in any of the courses that you're currently working through, so you can pick right back up where you left off without having to dig around forever. So just kind of a what's up page, right? This is also where you find a link over to tradingjustice.com. You will also find several different trading tools. In here, you'll find a link to the market skyline. This is just going to be where we can get all of these charts all in one spot, right? So we're going to have the index charts, the S&P, the Dow, the RUT, Bitcoin, even the emerging markets will be in here. The major commodities, gold, silver, copper, crude, platinum, palladium, as well as the sector spider ETFs. So we can kind of work through and say, okay, well, what does today look like? Anything standing out, whether it's from a bullish or a bearish perspective? I think these are things that we do need to be looking at each day as traders. Whether or not it's right here in the Trade Center, that's up to you. But I do think it's important to kind of, as we're taking that top-down approach, kind of get all of those in one easy to reach location. There is a link here to the Finviz heat map. This will just bring you to finviz.com for today's S&P 500. You can kind of get that visual what areas, stand out to you, what was in the green, what was in the red, anything really jump out. Can be a way, just a quick visual way to kind of see what happened in the market here today. So that's the open heat maps will take you right over there. You'll find a news aggregator in here. It'll go through several of the big name financial sites, CNBC, Wall Street Journal, the Times. Usually there's some market watch in there as well, where you can just kind of easily scroll through, see if there's anything that, catch your attention. You want to read it without having to bounce around between a whole bunch of sites. So just kind of get some of those headlines all in one location for us to really save us some bouncing around and clicking around. A link to the economic calendar will be in here so we can know what's on the economic schedule for today or for the week. Another link to our market report, which again, we'll talk about here in a few, but they're found up in here. A link to our trade journals, which we're going to come back to in just a moment. A compounding gains calculator, a chart if you ever need one, our glossary, our search tool, which is also right up here if you're ever looking for something. So a lot of different little tools in here. If we come into the trade journals here, now there are two ways to get to our trade journals. It just in the drop down of the Trade Center menu, you can find them in here as well. I always prefer to come into it directly from the Trade Center like we've done here, because it will kind of have the walkthrough tutorial for you if you need it. It's fairly straightforward. We need to say, today I bought this. This was the price. This is how many shares, right? Oh, today I sold this. This is the price. This is how many shares, or, option contract. If we're trading an option strategy, it's going to do the rest for us. So we really just have to let it know what we did. And it's going to, let us know, how long we're in the trade. What do we gain or lose? Very important information, such as how much does our average winning trade make us? How much does our average losing trade cost us? What's our winning percentage? Of course, how, the big one, our profits bigger than our gross losses, right? As long as that's working, we're all right. I can lose 180 if I'm making 190. I'm still in the green, right? I hope to do better than that, but my number one job is to be in the green, right? If you come into the trade journals this way, if you just scroll down a little bit, there will be the trade journal right here, and your download will be just below it. We also have our theta research tool for building and comparing our different cash flow strategies, right? So, we've covered calls, credit spreads, naked puts, etc., as well as the portfolio journal to kind of help you keep organized with the whole totality of your account, right? How exactly bullish or bearish am I? An easy way to stay on top of things. Again, you just select whichever one you wanted, and the download will be right here for that trade journal. If you're not journaling your trades already, I do strongly encourage you to do so. It will make and save you money over time. So that is the trade journals through the Trade Center itself. Again, you can find them just in that drop down, but it's not going to take you right to this little kind of walkthrough that can be helpful if you're not particularly comfortable with spreadsheets. So there's some things that are going to be available for us in our Trade Center. In the Trade Center drop down itself, you'll find, as we said, a link to our journals, another link to our trading glossary, a link to the events calendar, which we'll probably circle back to before we're done today, as well as the Tackle Trading Playbook. And this is where you're going to find our strategies and our rules for those strategies. So we break everything down into three core areas: Delta, Theta, and Vega, based on the option Greeks. Delta is directional, right? So buying stock, buying calls, buying puts, things like that. I think the stock is going to move up or down, go from point A to point B, right? From 50 to 55, from 70 to 65, whatever the case might be. Then we have our theta side of things. That's our cash flow side. The cool thing about options is we get to sell them, right? And bring in that cash flow, bring in that premium, and take advantage of the one guarantee, which is time passing, right? That's going to be our naked puts, our covered calls, our credit spreads, our call, bull put spreads. These are our theta-based strategies. And then the Vega, or the Volatility Playbook. These are where I don't have an opinion on which way the stock's going to move or the product's going to move, but how it's going to move. Earning seasons is a great time for these type of strategies, in my opinion. A company ABC, usually has great, big moves on its earnings. I might want to bet that it's going to have a big move one way or another again. Or maybe the market thinks it's going to move a lot, but I look at the chart and say, it doesn't really move that much. I think you're wrong, market. So we're we're playing the volatility and not the direction. That's going to be straddles and strangles and things of that nature. So that's going to be the playbook. In all of these, there will be a video going over the strategy, what it is, why we would choose it, what our rules for that strategy are. There will be a walkthrough using the Thinkorswim platform if you're also using Toss to kind of get the order set up. There's also a little downloadable cheat sheet for the rules, so easy to access. What was the rule? How much time am I buying in a long call? What delta rule do I have? That type of stuff. So you have easy access to those rules for any of those strategies. You'll notice that there's always going to be something between a 0 and a plus or a -3. And that's just kind of where we see the strategy on the 0 being flat neutral, 1 or -1 being slightly bullish or slightly bearish, 2 or -2 being normal, I guess, bullish or bearish, and 3 or -3 being very bullish or very bearish. So we always want to match the strategy to our view of the situation. So if I think Tesla's going to go crazy and then have a huge move, I want to use a strategy that can capture more the more it moves, right? I mean, that goes without saying. If I think Tesla's going to slowly grow, slowly grind its way up, maybe I want to put together a little bit more of a conservative type of a trade, right? That'll depend on me and my read of the situation, but we do want to make sure that we're matching the strategy to how we're viewing the situation. And this is just kind of where we see these strategies on that spectrum, from 0 to neutral to plus or -3, very bullish or very bearish. So that's how that's the tackle trading playbook, and you can certainly keep yourself very, very busy in there. I have no doubt about that. Let's kind of shift gears. Like I said, we'll circle back to the events calendar because it can be helpful as we're talking through our schedule here. Let's talk a couple things here really quick. We recently launched a product that we call Trading Labs. Coach Tyler, Coach Emily, and Coach Mark all have launched a trading lab. They get together each week with members of their team. They stay connected with them throughout the week through their own private Discord channels. If you are interested in those trading labs, so whether all of them or a particular coaches, certainly be happy to get you some more information on those. Been only been a few weeks, but the feedback seems to be pretty darn good. Let's talk schedule. Every morning, well, let me rephrase that. Every market morning at 11 Eastern, we get together with our pro members over here at Tackle Trading in our Traders Lounge for an hour. It lets us sit down with our team and address any questions that you have. Maybe you are struggling with a concept, and it would just be really helpful to have somebody walk you through a bull call spread from beginning to end. Let's go through the whole process. Let's place a virtual order. Let's build the trade. Let's talk about the risk reward. Let's talk about how it's going to move. So maybe you're struggling with a particular strategy. Maybe you've got a chart set up that you find appealing and want to just get some other thoughts on. What do you think about the breakout on so and so, right? Maybe you're struggling with your daily routine, or maybe you've got a trade going and interested in some ideas from a management perspective. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, who knows what questions we have until we have them, but most of us have questions from time to time. And our Traders Lounge allows us to address your questions, very personally, each and every market morning. You're always welcome, always invited. Your questions are always important. So never feel like you can't ask your questions. Don't feel like they're too basic. Don't feel like they're too advanced. That's what we're here for, is to get those questions answered. This is one of those shows that we don't really record regularly because, quite frankly, no one's going to go back and watch the one from 7 months ago, right? But that's fine. We can record snippets, and we will fairly regularly record little snippets and get them posted here directly in the link. If your schedule is such that you've got a question, but you're at work, on during the week when the lounge is going, just let us know. Send us an email. We'll do our best to accommodate you. It's not a huge deal for us to tackle that subject. Hit the record button and get it posted in here for you. So, if you can't make it, don't hesitate to ask. I mean, that's what we're here to do. So that's our lounge every market morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. Shortly after the lounge, we of course head over to our YouTube channel at 12:30 Eastern to do the Tackle Trading halftime report, live looking on the market, taking that top-down approach. Hey, what's going on in the market today? How is it impacting our charts? How do the different, major components of the market look? How do the different sectors look, the different major commodities, right? Silver, gold, Bitcoin, things like that. Taking that top-down approach, working through that daily routine. That's live on YouTube at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, about the halfway point of the trading day. Of course, the drill being on YouTube. Once the stream is over, it'll automatically populate to our channel where you can watch it at a more convenient time. I know a lot of folks do because, again, you're either available or you're not, right? But hope to see you over on the halftime report for sure. So every single market day, whatever else we're doing, we will be doing our lounge at 11 for our pro members here, and then hopping over to YouTube at 12:30, both Eastern times, for the halftime report. On Mondays, we do this onboarding webinar, just taking, anybody who's new to tackle trading, checking us out for the first time, just joined us. It can be helpful to go through this process. So, I always tell people you can build your own tackle trading. There's a lot here and you don't have to do it all, right? You can, it's awesome if you want to, but you don't have to by any stretch of the imagination. So it can be helpful to know it's available. We do this on Monday nights here on our YouTube channel. On Tuesday nights, at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we do our coaches show. I would, personally consider the coaches show kind of our flagship show. We're a couple days into the market. It's Tuesday night now. We've had a couple of days going on, so we can do an overview of the market, a quick market skyline. Hey, is any particular area standing out? Right? Maybe, maybe regional banks will be one way or another. Maybe, semiconductors will be. Maybe oil service companies will be, right? I mean, who knows? We'll just have to wait and see until it's Tuesday, right? So, but we can do a quick market, skyline, talk about, what's going on, what's standing out in the market. And what's really cool, and this is what I really love about, because I love talking about that stuff, but I talk about that stuff a lot. What's really cool about the coaches show is it allows us to take one of the so many topics that we could talk about in trading, right? I mean, there's a million things, whether it's strategy, technical pattern based, indicator based, time frame based, portfolio design, trading through earnings. I mean, a million fun things to talk about. The coaches show really allows us to narrow in. Hey, let's talk about this one thing. Let's not try to cram all of this into this hour. So as much fun as that might be, that's not very practical. So it really allows us to have some in-depth discussions on trading. And I, of course, as a trader, love to be part of and to listen into those conversations. The coaches show is 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. Now, it is recorded and archived. So if you can't make the show live, or if you need to revisit it, or if you want to watch some previous episodes, you can absolutely do just that here in the coaches show. So that's on Tuesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. On Thursday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we do our Cash Flow Club, also live, but recorded and archived. This is going to be a little more narrowly focused on those cash flow strategies, on those covered calls, those condors, those credit spreads, those naked puts, building and managing those type of trades. We do have a lot of cash flow traders here at Tackle Trading. I think, many of us incorporate at least some cash flow systems into our overall portfolio design. And, dealing with those, learning how to do a covered call or sell a credit spread is not particularly difficult, but managing them can be if we don't have some ideas of how to do that. So it's really helpful to be able to build and manage those trades over in the Cash Flow Club. Again, that's Thursday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, recorded and archived just like the coaches show. On Wednesdays, we do things a little bit different. So I'm going to hop over into the events calendar for just a second. Do things a little different on Wednesday. Got a couple different things going on Wednesday nights. Here on our YouTube channel at 7 Eastern, we do our Trade Masters webinar. A couple of the coaches will bring some trade ideas and compete with one another to win the approval of Coach Mark, who typically hosts, and the members of the team that join us in chat to see whose setups folks like the best. It's a lot of fun, but what it really is, while we kind of make a little competition, what it really is to kind of, get some trade ideas, to get that midweek watch list, beefed back up if we need something. Things can look a lot different on Wednesday afternoon than they did on Sunday night going into the into the market for the week. So it's just a fun way to be able to share ideas with one another and with our community. That's live on YouTube here at 7 Eastern. on Wednesday nights. Again, as you can kind of see here in the events calendar, if you're trying to get into any show, you can just click the one you want and that'll get you the information to get in there, which is really handy. Shortly after the Trade Masters webinars over on Wednesdays, we head back over to Tackle Trading at 8:30 Eastern for our nightly Traders Lounge. This is going to allow us to have conversations, maybe a little bit more in depth if need be, on any of the trade ideas that were brought to the Trade Masters webinar. As well, it gives us an opportunity. Maybe you just can never join during the day, but hey, at least you can join and ask some live questions in person and hang out with some live traders, real live people on Wednesday night. So while we'll talk about the things that we talked about in our Trade Masters webinar for sure, we'll also answer other questions. Just another way that we can help our team out. So that's Wednesday Trade Masters at YouTube at 7 Eastern, and then at 8:30 Eastern back over here at Tackle Trading for that Traders Lounge, where we're discussing those setups and more. So all of your questions are welcome in there. We do have a tremendous, as I brought it up a little earlier when I was referring to the Women Trading blog, but we have an awesome team of female traders. And if you're a woman in trading, or if you know a woman in trading, I don't know what it's like to be a woman in trading, but I do know that you're going to be connected with some awesome people in that Women in Trading group. I would definitely look out for that. About once a month, they will get together in a mastermind group. It tends to be towards the end of the month. Again, I don't get to go, right? But it tends to be towards the end of the month in my experience. We'll make sure that as we get it scheduled, we promote it. So when that Women in Trading Mastermind group, fellas, you'll have to find something else to do that day, which is fine. But for all of our ladies at Tackle Trading, I don't know exactly what happens there, and I never will, but I do know the team, and I talk to them, and I know what kind of people they are and what kind of traders they are. So I have no doubt there's getting, some good times had and some good work getting done in that Women in Traders group. Our Mind of a Trader is a couple of different things. Again, pretty helpful to look at the events calendar here. We've got a couple different ones that we do. On Friday, an hour before the close, Coach Mark does his Mind of a Trader at the closing bell. We're an hour before the end of the week, right? He presents his commodities report live to the team. He does the commodities report for us most of the time, as well as just bounces, last minute ideas going into the weekend, right? Maybe I was on the fence about closing this trade, want to talk about the technicals. Maybe I really like this breakout going into Monday morning. So, really just a place to get together and talk trading, right? If you have questions, if you have ideas, to bounce them around with members of the team. So that's at 3 Eastern on Fridays, typically the last trading day of the market, which is almost always Friday, right? So, and then he also does a Sunday night prep class at 8:30 Eastern. The futures have been open for a few hours now, right? Based on that futures open, is anything standing out? Game plan going into the very early part of the trading week. Again, maybe you're just working all the time and you can't ever join during the week, but maybe you can on Sunday night. So maybe you have some questions that are, that are just really, really kind of on your nerves and you need to have some discussion. So another place that we can do that. So easiest way to get into those, or really any show, is just to come into the events calendar and click the one that you're ready to get into. So that is going to be the schedule. Kind of an oversimplified way to think about it is the morning lounge is for your questions, right? That's Q&A, if you will. The afternoon or the 12:30 halftime report is for the daily routine, taking that top-down analysis, following the soap opera that is the market. And then the evening shows is where we can really focus in on the teaching side of things. And while that's probably an oversimplification, there's probably a little bit of bleed over in all those areas. I think that can help maybe keep them a little organized as you're kind of getting to know us. So, and if you're feeling a little overwhelmed on the schedule, don't hesitate to reach out, of course. So that's kind of what the schedule looks like here each and every week. We'll be here a lot. We'll be doing a lot of things. Like I said earlier, we love to have you in everything that we do, but we get it. I mean, life is life, right? You got other things to do. Don't be afraid to build your own tackle trading and have your priorities in place. We'll see you. We'll see you for sure. But never feel like you're not invited to everything. You are certainly invited. We have a lot of pro members that I see in everything that we do, which is really cool. But we have a lot more that maybe can't quite go that crazy. But again, that's up to you. Lastly, let's talk about our weekend reports. At the end of the week on Fridays, what we as coaches are doing is we're kind of prepping for next week in the market. We get together in what we call our scouting report meeting, where we'll talk about how we're individually seeing the market, the sectors, the commodities, right? And we'll kind of go over the broad market and take that top-down analysis approach together, if you will. Talk about trade setups that we're following, that we found going into the upcoming week. And out of that scouting report meeting comes our weekend reports. That's going to be the tackle newsletter, the stock, options, commodity, and Forex reports. The tackle newsletter is kind of that top-down approach, right in action, right? That's kind of taking it from the top down. Hey, what's going on in the market right now? What are the storylines that are moving the market right now? What's the mood of the market right now? What does the economic calendar look like coming to the upcoming week? Of course, we'll always have a video kind of talking you through our take on this stuff, in all of this stuff. Where's the S&P 500? How are we reading it? The NASDAQ, the Dow, the RUT, the major indexes. There are also, if you ever need them, or if you're not familiar with them, there are the corresponding ETFs. Probably are familiar, but if you're not, they're pretty handy to know. So we'll just quickly talk about them. DIA tracks the Dow Jones. QQQ tracks the NASDAQ. IWM tracks the RUT. And SPY tracks the S&P 500. These ETFs are simply designed to mimic that index, right? So if I like the idea of a breakout in the Dow Jones, I might want to specifically trade the Dow Jones. Well, yes, I could do index options, but most traders, myself included, don't really go that route. But I might want to go to the ETF. I could buy shares. I could buy a call. I could do a bull call. I could do a bull put. I mean, there's a lot of things I could do with this ETF to trade directly into that index. Or, maybe the market starts selling off a little more than I'm comfortable with, and I want to, use the SPY to buy some insurance on the portfolio. There's a lot of things that we can do. So you'll find these in here. They're pretty helpful things to have. You'll find the seasonality chart. Historically, what tends to happen this time of year, historically speaking, August is a big nothing burger. We don't really do much. Doesn't mean it'll happen again, but it does historically be pretty boring. Doesn't really go up, doesn't really go down, right? Historically speaking, the fourth quarter tends to be really strong. I hope that's the case again this quarter, because that's always a fun time to trade. Doesn't mean it will happen, right? But it is historical data for a reason, right? So it's helpful to know kind of how the market tends to perform during this time period, whether it's this month or this quarter or what have you. Same with the sectors. What sectors tend to be, relatively speaking, the strongest and relatively the weakest this month. Our scoreboard, where we're ranking the sectors, we rank the sectors based off of the components in the sector spider ETFs, right? And if you're not familiar with the sector spiders, what they do is they go into the S&P 500, say XLU, just for an easy example, goes into the S&P 500, pulls out just the utility stocks that are on the S&P 500 index and puts them in a portfolio. And that's what we're looking. We're getting an isolated look at the utility sector, or an isolated look at the energy sector, or an isolated look at the real estate sector, right? That's kind of what's happening with these sector ETFs. Again, these ones are pretty handy things to be able to trade. If I want to specifically trade a sector, they're optionable as well. If you want more information on them, you can visit their website for the ETF provider. It's just sectorspider.com, sectorspdr.com. No vowels in the spider. But the way we rank the sectors, we're ranking them based off of what we're seeing on the individual components that build up those ETFs. So each week you can kind of see, we put it here on a football field. And again, we can kind of talk you through the thought process in the video, but each week we'll kind of work you through and kind of let you know, hey, we like this a little bit more than last week, a little bit less than last week. We're not particularly aggressive around these parts. So it's very rare that you're going to see us put an entire sector or an entire market or an entire product like gold or whatever, Bitcoin, into plus or minus 3 territory. That's just not who we are. It's perfectly very normal for someone to say, I have a +3 on this breakout, or I have a -3 on this, bearish retracement on an individual stock. But it's very unlikely I don't know, you never say never, right? But it'll be very unlikely that you see us rank an entire sector or index or anything in plus or minus three territory, just a little bit about us. But just so you can kind of see, how we're moving along with the sectors, what areas we like just as much as we did last week. Don't see a lot changing, a little more, a lot more, a little less, a lot less. And we'll just be moving it back and forth on the scoreboard on a week to week basis. These ETFs, these sector spiders, the S&P 500 is weighted by market cap, right? And that means like the big names have a lot of value, right? The Apple, how many times, I don't know, maybe none, maybe a lot, but you look at the S&P 500 and it's up. Apple and Microsoft and Google, right? Those things are so huge, and they have such an important, they're really important to any ETF or index that they're in, right? And so it can be sometimes a little bit misleading, right? And it's okay. That's just what they are. That's just how the S&P 500 is built. There's nothing wrong with it being market cap weighted. Of course, the sector spiders, they're built off of the S&P 500, right? So they're also going to be weighted by market cap. Anything that Google and Facebook are, so XLC, for example, they are huge weightings in that ETF. In a lot of ways, this goes where they go. And so that probably a little oversimplification, but they're just such a big component. So just a little bit of write-up of kind of how these are built. Again, you can go see the actual structure of the way they're built at sectorspdr.com if you would like to do so. It's not a bad idea, in my opinion. Another friendly reminder to match the strategy to the situation, right? You think it's going to slowly grind up. You might want a +1 or a +2 strategy. I think it's going to pop. I probably want a +2 or a +3 strategy, right? Doesn't mean I'm right and you're wrong or vice versa. Hopefully we're both somewhat right? We're cheering for each other, but we want to match that strategy to the situation. There's going to be a pre-built scanner in here as well. So if a particular area has caught your attention and you really wanted to take a quick, closer look at some stocks in that area, say you got your eyes on healthcare, this will just bring you once again to a Finviz. This is free Finviz, so you will have to click some ads unless you're a subscriber to Finviz, which, as you can see here, I am not, but I do love Finviz. I use their free platform all the time. This is going to bring up a list of what I call trader-friendly stocks. And all I mean when I say that is they've got great liquidity. It's super easy to trade shares of these things. They're optionable. If the vast majority have weekly options, so there's a lot of options available. Some of them are still going to be a little tricky to trade with options, right, on the liquidity side, and we'll just have to double check that, make sure we're comfortable with that. But whether it's through an option strategy or through shares outright, I'm going to be able to build a trade on anything that I find in here. If something in here I like, I want to do a trade on it, it's not going to be a problem to get in one way or another. And that's what I mean when I say trader friendly. As you can see, it's just going to put a whole bunch of charts up that I can easily kind of browse through, right? Hey, UNH threading a breakout, right? They call me Breakout Frank around here. I love breakouts, right? I probably couldn't ever dream of making a trade off of this little tiny chart, but I can see that that's interesting enough to go take a closer look at it in an actual charting platform. To me, now you might not think that way, right? And that's okay. We can just quickly scroll, see if anything jumps out to us. Very easy way to work through a lot of charts quickly. And then, hey, this one caught my eye. This one caught my eye. Let's actually go do some real technical analysis and not the bird's eye view, right? But starting with the bird's eye view is great, right? That I can go through, I can process a lot of information very quickly. So we'll have those pre-built for all of the different sectors in here as well. Especially as the week goes on, you might have, an area might stand out to you that you want to take a closer look at. So that's going to be the Tackle newsletter. That's really, that's that step one in the 7 steps around here at Tackle Trading, that top-down approach. Start at the top of the market. Then we got our stock, option, commodity, and Forex report. Coach Cody usually does our Forex report for us, where you can highlight, the technical situation on the major pairs, the upcoming, economic reports that might be moving those pairs, how they relate to one another. He does a lot of teaching of the Forex market as well. I know a lot of members of Team Tackle got trading Forex from joining Cody in his Forex report weekly. He's done a really good job of helping people work from, I don't really know, to, hey, I'm actively trading in the currency market. Definitely worth catching. As I mentioned earlier, Coach Mark typically does our commodity report for us. where we can talk about, hey, what's going on in the world of commodities, both from a fundamental and a technical perspective. What's the themes and the stories behind these different moves that we're seeing in the commodities market. Even if you're not trading commodities over on the futures exchange, there are going to be a lot of things that you're going to be able to do with equities and options to take advantage of, say, gold, or maybe want to cash flow gold because you think it's going to go sideways. Well, there's plenty of gold stocks, there's gold ETFs, there's going to be things that you can do, right? Maybe you're liking this move on copper, you can trade a proxy stock like FCX. So there are going to be plenty of things that you can do to take advantage of movements in the world of commodities through equities and options if you don't want to specifically trade over on the futures exchange. So just so you know, definitely worth listening. Coach Mark's a big cash flow trader, so he talks a lot about cash flowing those products over in his weekly commodity report as well. You're gonna find that in a lot of ways, our stock and our option report are going to be built fairly similar to one another. We're just going to have some trade setups going into the upcoming week on these, based off of what we've ran into in our scanning and working through our top-down approach. So we'll come into the options report here this week. Each week, we're going to have some trade setups both on the bull and the bearish side of things, right? And kind of share them with you, kind of walk you through in the video kind of where our head's at with these things. The stock reports can be built very, very similar. They're going to be based off of technicals and analysis. In the stock report, it really is probably more of a stock trade, although that is an overgeneralization. It might be a low price stock that just might not be a great fit for an options trade. It might have plenty of liquidity on the shares, but the options, just no one here would feel comfortable trading them. And if you've ever been stuck in an illiquid option, it's no fun. Well, I'm not going to not trade it. I can trade shares, right? So I don't have to trade options. I don't have to trade stock. I can do a little bit of both. But they're going to be built the same way. We want to share some ideas with you. One of the, kind of subtle little differences is, of course, in the stock report, well, we're not thinking about strategy. We're just thinking about trading the shares of the stock, right? So we can talk a little bit more about the technicals in the stock report. They're equally as important in the option report, right? They matter just as much, but we're going to talk a little bit more about strategy selection, right? This might make sense to do a long call, or to do a bull call, or to do a bull put, or to do a diagonal, to do a covered call, to sell a naked put. So we'll talk a lot about the strategy selection process in the options report on top of the technical side of things. So kind of an easy way to kind of think about it is, we'll talk a little more technicals in the stock report because we can, right? In the option report, we're going to spend a little more time talking about strategy selection, which is important as well. But we want to make sure you have some actionable, qualified trade setups going into each and every week in the market. You may like all of them. You may like none of them. You probably will like some and not like others. Maybe you don't want any bears. Maybe you're bulled out. Maybe you don't like the big names. Who knows, right? There's never a bad way to find a trade idea, though. And we want to make sure that we're sharing some ideas with you each and every week, whether you're trading stocks, options, futures, commodities, all of the above, right? We want to make sure you have some ideas. We do, on all of our things, you've probably noticed these trading view charts in here that are built into our report, our newsletter, our trade center, right? These are just built into our reports. Just a couple of things just so you can maybe better use them. This button right here, this widget button, will just hide that watch list. Smack it again and it'll bring it back out for you, so you can get a little bit more chart, right? If you're kind of scrolling through and any particular one has caught your attention, maybe you like Boston Science, right? Maybe you like snow, trying to break through this resistance level. I do, so I'm gonna use these guys for my example here today. So I'll get rid of the chart here, give myself a little more charting room. If you want to add an indicator, just this one right here, the indicators button, these aren't going to save. So, feel free to add as many as you want, but do be aware that when you leave and come back, all of these indicators that you've added are going to be gone. I usually, for that reason, just add the ATR personally. If you want to make it bigger or smaller, just hover your mouse over the barrier between volume and your indicator and hold the left mouse button down, and you can scrunch it up or down, however you see fit on that. Let's see. It's set up default to a daily time frame, right? But you might want to take a look at the weekly, right? Is there anything going on from a weekly perspective? Maybe you want to go into an intraday. I like the hourly for the intraday, but that's just me to for stop loss or for to pinpoint your entry. So you can change your time frames. It's pretty flexible on that side of things. If for whatever reason you do prefer bar charts to candlesticks, you can change that as well. Most of us traders use candlesticks these days, myself included, and most of us at Tackle. But if you prefer bar, I know there's still a few people out there who do prefer that. Your trend line tool is going to be this one right here. This is where you can draw, this particular case. This is, horizontal breakout, right? Horizontal level of resistance. Can also, I don't know how applicable you might find it, but got a little bit of an upward trend as well. So you can draw your trend lines, whether it's horizontal support or resistance to the actual trend line. If you don't need it, just left click it and smack the garbage button there. It'll get rid of it for you. Get rid of those. Let's see. This one right here is probably the most helpful. This is where we can build long or short positions. So since this would be a breakout trade, not to get too specific, mostly just as an example, let's just say I'm interested in coming into these guys, but I like coming into them just north of 276, 276.05. So that's my entry. Oh, by the way, you can just zoom your mouse wheel up or down and we could get some more chart to work with, right? And same thing over in the dollar amount, just hold your left mouse button down. You can zoom it up, zoom it around so you can get the chart how you want it to be, right? And maybe I got a target price in mind of 300 here on these characters. That's going to let me know if this was the trade. I'm risking it for every dollar I'm risking. I have a $1.32 expected profit, right? So if I actually get in at this point and it does go up here, that's my risk or reward. I can kind of scrunch this down. Well, I don't want my stop loss there. That's just kind of a random place. I liked having my stop loss at here. Well, that gives me a 2.3 to 1 risk to reward ratio. So it's going to save you a lot of time on the math. Hey, what exactly is my R to R? Where could I have my stop loss? Most of us swing traders ask for at least a 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio, right? I think that's very, very common as a floor for swing traders. But it can just allow me to do that. I can come into the daily or to the intraday and say, okay, is there anything that makes sense? I could probably use this little low right here. That would be something I could use for a stop. Or maybe you don't like the hourly chart, you like the 15-minute chart, and you wanted to kind of scrunch in to see, zoom in for the entry or zoom in for the stop. It is very, very helpful. I use these charts a lot myself. I think they're pretty cool to be able to do that. So that you can build that for both the long and the short side, right? So if you're looking bullish or bearish, saves you a lot of time if nothing else, which is always a good thing. So there's plenty of other things that you can do with these trading view charts, but it's not really the purpose of our conversation tonight. But since you probably will be using them at least a little bit when you're working through the reports, at least the first time, it is helpful to be able to, add to the things that you want to add, to zoom around, to, prep some trades out, all of that fun stuff. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. Regardless, again, we just want to make sure you have some trade ideas that are vetted. Technically, you don't have to like them. You don't have to like any. You don't have to trade any, right? No one's ever going to make us trade something we don't want to do, but we want to make sure that we have some ideas for you each week, no matter what area of the market you like to trade. You can expect these by Saturday afternoon, so you have plenty of time to go through them before the market opens back up. And that is the reports. It's hopefully that explains them and give you some ideas of kind of how they're built and how you can use them as the week progresses, right? Because it's not just on Sunday night that we're doing that stuff, right? We're doing it throughout the course of the week. As we wrap up here, just a couple of other quick things. Our Clubhouse is kind of our own personal social media. It's just a place where you can interact with other traders, ask questions, bounce ideas around with one another. Certainly invite you to join us over there. It's just nice to have a place where it's just trading, just us. I mean, we can do those type of things on the more traditional social media platforms, and we do, right? But sometimes it's just nice to have a place. You know what? This is just trading. This is just trading, nothing else, right? And I don't know about you, but sometimes I can feel that way about traditional social media. So I certainly invite you to join us over in the Clubhouse. Our Tackle Today email is just our daily email. If you would like it, you can sign up for the daily email just by smacking the Tackle Today button there, and we can get that delivered to your inbox each day. We will also post it. It will get to your inbox faster but we will post it in here as well. If you just prefer to read it in kind of blog format over here at Tackle Trading, you can do that as well. We, as I mentioned, are active on all of the major platforms, right? Over on YouTube, we do a lot of live streams, whether it's, the onboarding webinar, the halftime report each day, the Trade Masters webinar on Wednesdays. But we also have a lot of, standalone, if you will, videos on our channel as well. A lot of walkthroughs, how-tos, what-ares, an entire playlist on Thinkorswim tutorials. And we're always looking to add more. So certainly, if you're a fan of YouTube, I certainly, encourage you to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Appreciate it. We're on our march to 20,000 and looking forward to it, because I know we get a marathon when we hit that. We did it at 10,000. It was a lot of fun to spend the whole day just streaming on YouTube, talking trading. So I'm looking forward to it. So that's our YouTube channel. Of course, we have a presence over on Instagram and LinkedIn, but really, I mean, the big ones are going to be Facebook and Twitter, right? We have we have a Team Tackle Facebook group. I'm not a Facebook user, so you won't find me over there, but we have a lot of members of Team Tackle that are Facebook users, and there's nothing wrong with that. They've got their own group where they can, share ideas and bounce things around with one another. So if you're a Facebook user, I would definitely hook up with them. I'm more of a Twitter guy myself. We have a presence on Twitter where we can kind of what's going on at Tackle Trading, interesting charts we might be running into, gainers and losers, upcoming earnings, all sorts of that type of stuff. If you're using any of these social media platforms, I certainly invite you to join us, and I would love to have you. If you're not, I understand. Like I said, you're probably never going to get me on Facebook. Believe me, folks have tried for a long time and it just doesn't happen. So you never have to explain. But if you are using any of these platforms, feel free. We'd love to have you and say hi. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this evening. I hope that this was helpful. I hope it gave you a better idea of what we're doing here, kind of our philosophy to the market, kind of walking through the side. I hope maybe kind of said, hey, this is where I am as a trader, right? Don't compare yourself to other traders. You're you, right? If you've never traded options before, been trading stock for 5 years, I mean, it's okay that you've got a learning curve ahead of you with options, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? But hopefully it gave you some ideas of, hey, this is something I want to focus on. This is hopefully how I can kind of get going down that path. Never hesitate to reach out to your team. A lot of ways to do it. Get into the Clubhouse. Hit me up on Twitter. Send us an email, team at Tackle Trading. Ask in the lounge. Ask in the mind of a trader, right? Ask in the YouTube chat. You're not alone, right? I mean, trading can feel lonely, but you're not alone. And that's what I love about Tackle Trading. While nobody can ever make my decisions for me, I love talking through this stuff with folks. And I love, I'm by myself in my office with my dog almost all day, Monday through Friday. I like that I have people that I can relate to, that I can bounce ideas around. And I think that's really as much as anything for me at Tackle Trading. Sure, the shows are cool. This is cool. That's cool. But to me, it's the community that makes me so happy to be a part of Tackle Trading. So I hope I'll see you again. I probably will, whether it's in the halftime report on Fridays, and another show on Twitter, and the Clubhouse. I hope that this isn't goodbye, and I certainly welcome you to Tackle Trading. Appreciate you spending some time to check us out and to just hanging out with me a little bit, going through this stuff this evening. I do hope you found it helpful. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll keep you no longer. I'll let you get out of here, but welcome to the team. Have yourself a great Monday night, and I will look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the not too distant future. Not sure where, but hopefully somewhere around the way. So until then, happy trading and see you.